I'm Rob Skinner, and this is the Rob Skinner Podcast. Today I read Chapter 7 of my book, How to Plant and Grow a Church. The chapter subject is how to raise money. I'll be sharing the tips and tools to raise money personally or for your church planting from friends, family, and those you don't know. All this and more on the Rob Skinner Podcast. Welcome back to the Rob Skinner Podcast. My goal is to inspire you to live a no-regrets life, make this life count, and multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. The Climb Conference is coming up November 30th through December 3rd in Dallas, Texas. I want to ask you, register today. It's going to be so amazing. It's going to be so worth it. You need to come. Bring your friends. If you're in a church, bring the people around you. Bring your family members. No matter where you're at spiritually, this is going to inspire you. It'll take you to a new place. Whether you're a church leader, whether you're self-supporting, you're professionally in the ministry, whether you're working on staff or supporting a staff couple, whether you're leading a small group or working on campus, you're going to hear some of the most inspiring speakers in the kingdom share about how to grow spiritually and how to grow your ministry. So please go to robskinner.com if you haven't registered already and register today. I'm looking for a leadership couple to plant the Sayurita and Green Valley Church in September of 2023. This is an exciting opportunity for someone who's looking to go on a mission team and lead a small church planting. It's about an hour south. It's south of Tucson, and it's in southeast Arizona, and it's an amazing area. Sayurita is one of the top 5 fastest growing cities in Arizona. And there's so many great things about it. I've shared about Jerry and Carl who got baptized a while back. But God is gathering people. Already team members are joining. They're selling their houses. They're moving to the area. So that's why I'm looking for a leadership couple to plant this beautiful area of Arizona. If you're interested in leading or going on the team, email me at rob@robskinner.com. If you can't go, but you'd like to support the planting with a tax-deductible gift, click the link in the bottom of the show notes on the podcast here and select the general fund option. Chapter 7, How to Raise Money. How much money are you going to need to plant a church? As much as you can get. You'll need money for you and your family to get by, and you'll need money to operate the church. You'll need to get comfortable seeking out, asking for, and receiving money from all types of sources. Planter profile, Joel Peed. Joel and his wife Christy had been in the professional ministry since 1992. They'd been converted in the church in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and then led a church in Omaha, Nebraska. Both Joel and Christy were raised in small towns and felt the desire to plant a church in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. The area surrounding Eau Claire has around 125,000 people. With one other couple and a single brother, the Peeds planted the church in 2006, just as his kids were going into elementary school. The church now has 80 members and has helped plant a new church in Duluth, Minnesota, with about 20 members from their planting. They started with no master plan about how to support the church. It was challenging the first year as only one person got baptized. However, Joel's church just recently celebrated their 100th baptism. Joel has built his church without using any evangelism campaigns. He credits the growth of the church to reliance on God and relationship evangelism. He asked God to lead them to men of peace, as Jesus counseled his disciples as he sent out the 72. They have found those men and women of peace and have converted doctors, business owners, and teachers. This strategy has resulted in a 75% retention of new converts. When asked about his advice to those considering planting a new church, Joel offered the following. God reliance. Just as Paul was guided to plant a church in Europe through his vision of the man of Macedonia, Joel counsels planters to rely on God to guide them. Before planting his church, Joel asked every person and church he knew for 3 things: people, money, and prayer. He sent out a monthly letter sharing how God had answered the prayers of those dedicated to praying for the team. Courage. Joel advises planters not to be afraid to ask for money and influential people. Fear often prevents the minister from asking for money and for people who can build strong relationships. You get what you ask for. When Joel overcame his hesitant to ask, miracles started happening. He asked for financial support, and one wealthy benefactor came forward to give $50,000 per year since the founding of the church. One of the children's coaches attended the church but didn't place membership. He still supported the church with $2,200 per month. 4 years ago, that man moved away to a different city. He continues to donate $2,200 per month to the church he never joined. Joel shares that just as God used the wealth of the Egyptians to support his people on their departure from Egypt, God will use the wealth of those who don't believe in supporting those who do. The money is there. You merely have to ask. It also takes courage to ask for strong disciples and leaders. Joel would rather have one strong-charactered person than 5 people who find it difficult to build relationships. When planting a church, it's tempting to be content with any warm body that comes along. Joel believes a strong team creates a strong church. That strategy has allowed the Eau Claire Church to become a sending church and help another planting get off the ground in Duluth, Minnesota. Joel's high points include his kids becoming Christians in the church, even though at one point they were the only members of the children's ministry. The Eau Claire Church has already bought a second building which holds 300 people. When asked about low points, he recalls the day when he was preaching, song leading, writing the bulletin, making the announcements, and shoveling the snow out of the parking lot. There were times when he thought to himself, "What are we doing?" God blessed during those dark times. He recounts how when the singing was terrible and there were no kids in the children's ministry, the first person who came to church was a mother who brought her son. He was the same age as Joel's son. At the end of the service, Joel asked those attending to hug each other. The boy gave his son a hug and a kiss on the cheek. When Joel asked her about this, she said he had never done that before. Joel baptized her shortly after, and it turns out she had opera-level singing skills and now helps lead the music ministry. Raising money from the sending church. If a sending church has sponsored you, this will be your most important source of money. Don't be shy about asking for help. It takes time to become self-supporting. At the same time, you'll need to treat the sending church with respect and gratitude. If they're supporting you financially, you'll need to keep them posted with your growth and progress, and you'll need to return periodically and report how you're doing with the resources they've sacrificed for you. Your job is to provide inspiration and encouragement from the sending church. Keep in good contact with a church leader. Meet for discipling times as much as you can and keep that relationship carefully tended. How to make a funding presentation. When you have a specific financial need, like hiring a part-time intern or buying audio-visual equipment or a sudden rent increase, don't make your pitch over the phone. Instead, set up an appointment with the leader of the church and have lunch. After having lunch and catching up, follow this pattern. "Bill, the reason I wanted to have lunch with you is to ask your support to help us blank, blank, blank. Describe what's needed. Here's what God is doing in our church up until now thanks to your support." Then share the good news. "If we were able to have blank, I believe our church would grow and change in the following way." Then go on to explain in detail how this funding request is going to make a huge difference in the future of the church. "Bill, can you support us by donating X amount of dollars?" At this point, be quiet and don't say anything. If you start talking, you will often back down. You're placing the burden on your sending church to help you out. They can say no, but it's unlikely that they'll do that unless your request is completely unreasonable. Letter campaigns. You'll need to get comfortable asking for money from friends and family. It's hard for most people to ask for money, but you must keep in mind you are not asking for money for yourself, but the growth of God's kingdom. People who know you will be inspired by what you're doing and will often want to help. Developing a list of supporters. The first step is to list out all the names of people that you know, past or present, who you might ask. Don't hesitate or worry. Keep writing down names. Don't forget people who've left the church for one reason or another. Often they still want to support the work of God, but are hindered by personal conflicts with people that you don't know. Get people's mailing addresses through email or Facebook. Put together a fundraising letter that has a combination of good news and photos embedded in it. Share good news and challenges that you're facing. In the final paragraph, include something like the following. "I'm asking for your support of the work that God is doing here in the name of your town. As you can see, God has been blessing our work. We believe He'll continue to do so. We need your help financially. There are two options. Make a one-time gift or be a monthly supporter of our mission. Thanks for your support in advance. Much love, your name. And then give them an option down below. A, I'd like to support your work for $25, $100, $250, and leave it blank. Or B, I'm committing to support the mission there for blank dollars per month for the next 12 months. Provide a self-addressed stamped envelope in the funding request letter so people can easily drop a check in the mail. Also provide online funding options that people can give through their cell phone or computer. The money should never be directed to you personally, but to the church only. I would recommend reading a book or two on fundraising to help you with more ideas. Shameless audacity. If you're thinking, I can't do that, you are not alone. Most people hesitate. You have to do what others won't. Keep in mind, this is not about or for you. You are serving God and His kingdom. Spiritually minded people respect the sacrifice and may even secretly wish they were doing what you're doing. Give them a chance to participate in something that they can't support by physically moving to the mission field. Don't deny them the opportunity. Some will not answer or may respond sarcastically. Don't let that stop you. Personal requests. Out of 100 people you know, there are 20 who will provide 80% of your support. Out of those top 20, there'll be 4 or 5 friends or family members who'll be willing and able to give thousands of dollars. They are either well off financially or have family or friends in your area that they want to save. Those few people will need not just a personal letter, but a personal visit. Like the talk you had with the church leader described above, you'll need to and want to sit down face-to-face with the person or persons and make a personal appeal to support your work. I did that while I was living in Ashland, Oregon. There were about 5 couples that I knew who loved Oregon, had the means and desire to advance the mission. And I took a fundraising trip and drove about 1,000 miles round trip to talk to each one personally. I'd known them from the past, and most, if not all, I had either converted in Oregon or been on an earlier mission team to Portland. I took them out to dinner, I talked about the past and our shared memories together, and without rushing, sincerely asked them to support our work. I asked each one for $5,000 and then let them think about it. Each one donated $5,000, and some did that multiple times. Personal fundraising is a skill that by necessity you'll need to acquire if you're going to be a church planter. Church fundraising. You will need to set the example for tithing in your church. You'll need to be transparent in your giving so that people understand that not only are you supporting yourself, you're giving your money for God's work. Fearlessly expect your members to tithe generously. When our church in Oregon had about 8 members, and while we were still meeting in our home, I felt the need to hire a campus minister. We lived in a college town, home to Southern Oregon University, with a student enrollment of about 6,000 people. I was not able to put the time on campus necessary to developing that potential growth center in our church. I calculated that we could hire a part-time intern for minimum wage for 1 year. At that time, we set the goal at raising $16,000. We put together a simple poster board that had a picture of a thermometer on it. We had everyone in the church pledge what they could give, and at first it was only about $5,000. Pam and I pledged $3,000. We kept talking about it, and I asked everyone I knew to help support us. I sent out a letter request as mentioned above, and on the goal date, we'd raised over $16,000. It had seemed impossible at first, and even now looking back, I'm in wonder and amazement at how we did it. God gave us supernatural faith. Around the same time, I ran into a young man at a church conference by the name of Chris Schwarzenberger. He was working at a company in Spokane, Washington, and had the dream to do full-time ministry. I called him up and asked him if he'd consider the position we were offering. We flew him down and had him preach at one of our park services. He did a fantastic job, and everyone in the church was hoping he'd accept our meager offer. He was crazy enough, or visionary enough, to say yes. His decision to move to Ashland led to a campus ministry explosion. We had so many baptisms, and missionaries came from that campus ministry, and it still amazes me to this day. On a side note, God rewarded Chris's leap of faith in unexpected ways. When we hired Chris, we had only 2 college women in the church. Chris later married the first woman converted in our campus ministry. Thanks for listening. Here's how you can help support the program. First of all, hit the subscribe button and send a link to your friends. Let your friends know about it. Secondly, read and review one of my books, either How to Plant and Grow a Church or Courage, How to Make This Life Count. You can find both of those on Amazon.com. Thirdly, support the program financially by clicking the link in the show notes and selecting the general fund. Your tax-deductible gift will help me to multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. Because my goal is to inspire you to make this life count, live a no-regrets life, and multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. Have a great day, and make this life count.